Simon Sinek taught us to start with why. In 2025 with AI, this is easier than ever. This is no longer a philosophy. It's practicality. Because with AI, you can find your why and you cannot say anymore that you do not have the time for it or you don't know how. In 2025, you have no more excuses. For the past 10 years, I've been managing global projects and led people from over 17 different countries, and I started with why every single time. In this video, I will show you how leaders can define and find your why, how to communicate that to your team, and how to use AI to figure it out faster. And do it in a way that your team actually believes it. But to understand where we're going, let's go back to the original golden circle and go over what is the one thing that leaders still miss. The original concept, the start with why, or the golden circles, came from Simon Sinek around 2009. In that presentation, he told us that most companies are thinking in terms of what they do, how they do it, and they rarely talk about why. This is the same with leadership and management. You talk about what you have to do as a manager, you talk about how you do it, but you rarely talk about why you're actually doing it. So in terms of a company, the what is the product or service that you do, the how is your methods, values, or USPs, and the why is the actual purpose and belief and the reason you are existing. But you rarely talk about that. So what you actually have to do is you have to start with why. You have to talk about why you are making what you're making. You have to put your beliefs behind it, why you established that company, or why you are leading. What is your purpose with leading that team? And once you do that, you can talk about how you're actually doing it, and then what is the outcome, what is the end product of what you do. But in 2025 with AI, I think there's one crucial thing missing, and that is the who. In 2025, everything is about retention. It's about retention of employees, retention of viewers, everything, retention of customers, right? We focus on retention because there's so much competition out there that we have to make sure that the customers or viewers or employees that we have, we keep them. And about retention, you have to match your why with the who. You have to figure out how to communicate your beliefs to that target audience who might be an employee or a team member or a viewer or a customer. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So the question is, if the model still works, how do we make it work every week inside our team? How we can go from why to an actual usable workflow in our work. Let's start with number one, finding our why. How we can use AI to do that. For example, me as a project manager, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to write, based on the Start With Why concept by Simon Sinek, I'm a project manager. I work at here and here. I manage a team of 7 people. I work on international software development projects. And I want to know what is my why of leading the team and doing my job. Ask me questions until you're 95% sure that you can complete the task. Okay, that's going to be the prompt. I'm going to send it to ChatGPT, and then it's going to come back with a bunch of different questions. I'm going to answer them. And then there's going to be a lot of good ideas of finding my why. Number 2 is going to be define your who, right? So for me, if I want to focus on my team and communicate my why to them, let's focus on my individual team members. I'm going to write 1 or 2 sentences of each of them, or take the one-on-one notes I already have of them, put it into ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, based on the concept of Start With Why with Simon Sinek, this is my target audience, my team that I manage, and I want to make sure that I can communicate my why, which is XYZ, to them. Help me figure out a 30-day plan that I can do to communicate my why. And then number 3 is codify the how, right? We can turn the how into systems. And that's what I mean by codify it. That you have to figure out meetings, systems, small operational things that can help you communicate that with your team. For example, let's put a small thought into every Monday morning stand-up, or if you have a daily stand-up, put it there. Or at every one-on-one, at the end, communicate a little bit about yourself, or at the beginning. So use these little systems to put your thoughts, your ideas out there to your team, so you're actually communicating your why. And last but not least, your what. That is going to be the outcome. What is the outcome for me in terms of managing a team? That's going to be regular meetings, regular one-on-ones held, great feedback system, retrospective meetings so we can talk about stuff, and that's going to be my outcome. And at the end of the day, I'm going to get feedback from them because that means there's respect, there's reason, there's honesty, there's trust. And then secondly, I'm going to have retro meetings so they can talk to each other. So there's communication within the team. There's trust within each other. Regular one-on-ones held, automated a lot of tasks so you don't have to do too much admin work. So these are going to be the output for myself. But I think you can imagine for yourself what it would be that the outcomes that you do and how you can automate them, how you can enhance them by AI. So the outcome is actually there and measurable. But even great tools can fail. So let's see what separates the teams that actually do it from the teams that just talk about it. So let's check out the 3 patterns that actually work and the 3 major mistakes that teams usually do. So number 1, purpose first meetings. What do I mean by that? It means that every meeting has to have a reason, a why behind it. So you have to communicate a reason and a why in your meetings. So that is the reason why we do it. Okay, so we do not just have meetings. We have a reason behind it. We have a belief behind it. The second one is going to be value reinforcement. So you have to make sure that once you have managerial or company values that you communicate to your teams, you have to reinforce them. So number 3 is going to be early detection. And for those, you have to use one-on-one meetings. On the one-on-one meetings, you can use AI automation. I have a separate video on that one. You can check that out. You can use that to get enough feedback so you can detect early if your team member are not aligned with your values or they are not aware of your values because you miscommunicated them or did not communicate them. So you can get early feedback and then you can act on it. Now let's check out what are the 3 major pitfalls that companies and teams do. So number 1 is going to be outsourcing purpose. All right, so these are just the HR workflows that companies are trying to do, that the HR is trying to communicate the company values and company purpose through interviews or through meetings or internal newsletters, but the leaders and managers are not actually communicating it. And I'm not saying that head of a 20,000 employee company has to communicate something to each and every employee, but on certain levels, certain managers has to communicate the company beliefs and the company values to make sure that people know it and not just through a newsletter from HR. Okay. So number 2 is going to be automating empathy. Okay. So automating feedbacks, interviews, one-on-ones, any kind of human interactions that needs to have empathy in them. You cannot. There's no way you can do it efficiently. You're going to save time for sure, but that's not the same thing. Right? So you have to make sure that you're not trying to automate empathy. Okay, and the number 3 is going to be inspiring everyone. As a team lead on certain levels, you can make sure that you're communicating by you and trying to inspire that group of people that is your team. And then you as a manager, inspired by your manager, and then so on and so on. So where do you start if you want to make sure that you communicate your why to your team members? So let's sum it up. You make sure you have to find your why, make sure to use AI to get clarification, to get idea, and then you define your who's your target audience, your team, your customers, your viewers, whoever. And then last but not least, you have to live your how. You have to make sure you actually do what you said, right? And then that's gonna turn out to be your what, your outcome, your end result. Purpose was once philosophical, but now with the help of AI, we made it practical. So if you want to make sure to see more leadership and AI videos, make sure to subscribe.